as soon as I got on that first rail, I kind of compressed, and I thought I was going to swing to the outside of the rail, but the rope kind of pulled me right back into it. So, I mean, I pretty much just tried to get my head to the side, and my feet went to the other side and took it to my stomach. But I do remember, like, being in the air thinking, like, I'm dead.
I approve waterboarding. They're talking about wakeboarding. The thing about wakeboarding, every trick is an invert.
Backside.
Air railies.
A new dimension.
We are back, another episode of the Grab Matters podcast, and today we welcome on a very, very, very special guest, Danny Harf. How's it going, dude?
It's going, yeah, living it up. Excited to be here. I'm a fan of the podcast, so yeah. You know, I think it's really good for the sport what you do, and happy to support and be a part of it.
Yeah, that means the world to me. As a little 14-year-old hunter would be like, "Holy shit, Danny Harf just said, the podcast is cool." So that's a sick thing to hear. We usually start off with an easy one, favorite grab.
Yeah, I'm ready for that one. So I thought about this actually yesterday, but for me, it's 100% the method is my favorite grab, but it can't be a melon method. It's got to be a true method with the back leg boned out, not the front leg. If the front leg is straight, it's a melon, right?
Correct.
I mean, I see a lot of people, and even over the years, like the magazine would print photos of someone just doing a melon grab and call it a method, even because the board is square to the boat. But like a true method is back leg, Terje Hawkinson.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You're coming in hot. I love this.
Yeah.
This is so good. Yeah, you're right. Because, you got to have the front knee bent, kind of tucked up.
Right.
And then back one just
I mean, I
kicked out.
prided myself on my method. I'd probably done more methods than anything else on a wakeboard. And, I felt like I had one of the better methods, but I also felt like I did it proper. Me and Parks have talked about it a lot, but yeah, like if it's not back leg, then it's just a melon grab.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the wakeboard method, right? Is it's really weird because you're crossed up with the rope.
It's hard. Yeah, that's the thing is to do a proper method on a wakeboard. It's a different technique because to kind of rotate backside, basically you have to have your arm pretty much. I'm goofy footed, so for me it's my left arm pretty much all the way across your body, and then turn down, back leg kicked out. A proper method, definitely the winner.
A proper one is very impressive because you do see a lot of soggy ones, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Have you ever done a switch one? A good switch method?
I mean, I've tried, but I would definitely not say it was a good one. But I think like one of the tricks that I'm the most proud of that I ever did on a wakeboard, and Sean Kilgus filmed it, was I did like a legit backside 3 and then late method. So that was like probably for me right up there with a 1260 of like
really
one of the coolest, best tricks I've ever done was a legit backside 3, come around, grab melon and bone it into like a true method.
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah.
Talk about progression of the sport, because I feel like a lot of people are going more spins, more flips.
Yeah, I wish. I mean, I love watching the guys nowadays, but like, and props. A lot of them are doing some really cool stuff, but I wish some of that more basic, just like technical stuff was more popular.
Yeah, and I feel like the grab and the poke and the tweak is really like, I feel like there's room for that progression right now.
Yeah,
there are some people who are doing it.
The thing was, it was for that trick in particular, it was so hard to like come off with the right axis to be able to like grab coming around and turn it into that trick. Like I ate it probably way more times out the front trying to do it proper, but Kilgus captured the best one I ever did, and it's like he still posts it once in a while, so I'm like, yeah, that's
keep that one recirculating.
Yeah,
We like that one.
Yeah.
All right, let's I mean, we got a lot to talk about today, but let's, early days, because were you born in California and then you guys moved over here, or were you born here?
I was, yeah. So I was actually born in Visalia, California. It's up near like Bakersfield, Fresno area. My parents are both from Southern California. My dad grew up in Huntington Beach and my mom grew up in Tustin. My dad actually, he's in the restaurant business, and for years and years he ran first the Hard Rock Cafe. So that's what brought us to Orlando. Was my dad was running restaurants in Visalia. Him and his good buddy had like 3 sports bar and grill type of restaurants in Bakersfield, Visalia, Fresno, and he got hired by the Hard Rock Cafe to be their operations manager, to oversee basically the management at every location. So my dad opened pretty much every Hard Rock around the world. And they moved their headquarters. We lived in Dallas for a year while they were opening the Dallas Hard Rock Cafe. And then we moved to Orlando when they moved their headquarters here and opened the first Hard Rock Cafe that was at Universal Studios. So that's what brought me to Orlando. And my dad was a surfer from Southern California, and he had water skied at Canyon Lake as a kid, and he was a snow ski instructor at Mammoth Mountain. So I grew up surfing and skateboarding, and we moved to Orlando and, kind of found wakeboarding. This was in the infancy. Wakeboarding was still directional boards. I had a Conley stick, which was probably the worst wakeboard ever created.
You're not the first person to say that.
I don't even know where the design theory was. Like, I wish I would have had anything else to start on, but at that time we were just carving the wake and we were just surfing behind the boat. I started surfing when I was probably 4 years old with my dad, and snow skiing, maybe 3 years old. And then, skateboarded a lot as a kid too. And, when we first moved to Orlando, we had some friends that lived on the Butler chain, and we would barefoot and water ski. I learned to get up on 2 skis and drop a ski. But wakeboarding had just first started to come out, and me and my dad were walking through Sports Authority, and we saw the Conley stick, and we were like, well, that looks more fun than water skiing. So we got the Conley stick.
It was colorful, that's for sure.
Yeah, and then shortly after that, we upgraded to the first Wake Tech Flight 69. So that was kind of like my introduction to the sport. And I think my background in surfing and skateboarding definitely helped me. And then my sister was in gymnastics when I was a little kid, and my mom was like, you're in gymnastics too, because I don't want to deal with you. Well, she's in gymnastics. Yeah, so I had a little bit of gymnastics background also as a little kid, and was super into surfing and skateboarding, and then started wakeboarding, and it was a natural fit.
So when did you guys, you didn't move here to Orlando and live on a lake. So when did you move on a lake and get a boat and kind of get more into it?
Yeah, when we first had a boat, I started wakeboarding behind center console Sea Ray. We were members at Sportsman's Club on the Butler chain. So, but we didn't live on the lake. I want to say I was probably in 6th grade. We moved on to Lake Willis, which is over by SeaWorld kind of. And we traded the center console for the Ski Ray, which was a Sea Ray ski boat at the time. And that's when I lived on the water. And my sister she's 2.5 years older than me, but she was into wakeboarding. My dad was into wakeboarding. And I had a neighbor on Lake Willis that was at the time like a pro, but not like a top pro, but he was trying to make it as a pro. But Marcus Malarney was his name. Shout out Marcus. He 100% is the reason that I progressed as fast as I did, because I would come home every day after school, and my dad would just let me and my sister take the boat, and we would go pick up my neighbor, and then I would watch him ride, and he would give me pointers. And I learned, like, one summer when I started riding with him, I went from doing a tantrum and like maybe one other flip to like I learned every basic flip within like 2 months. So Jeez. But he was coaching me and like, hey, try a toe side back roll, try a scarecrow, try a front roll. So I like, I could already do that. Like in gymnastics, I could do a front flip, I could do a lot of that stuff. So when I kind of put it all together, there was one summer where I just went from doing a tantrum and to basically doing like every basic invert that you could do with a 180 and all that stuff.
Quick progression. I think this is actually a good time we dive into a guest question from Erik Ruck,
pertaining
Lake
nice.
Willis.
I talked to Erik Ruck earlier today.
Hey, Danny, what's going on? It's Erik. I don't necessarily have so much of a question, but one thing I wanted to talk about is Lake Willis and the history and just how much fun and how many tricks were learned, how many tricks I personally learned, how much, it really shaped the pointless era from building rails to wake riding, filming. So many other movies were filmed on Lake Willis, and, it's just one of those places that, every time I drive by it on I-4, it brings a smile to my face. So, why don't you tell some Lake Willis stories?
There you go.
Yeah, Lake Willis is a really cool lake. It's a super, clean spring-fed lake. It's right off. You can actually see it from I-4 now. You used to not be able to, but kind of like right by Lake Buena Vista. In between Lake Buena Vista and SeaWorld is Lake Willis. And my parents had the coolest house on the lake. Their lot was like a peninsula that stuck way out into the lake, and you could see the lake from every room in the house. But it was a perfect size. Now I would say it's probably a little small for some of the boats,
Sure,
the bigger boats, but it's still fine to wakeboard on today. But it was perfect back in the day. And I told you about Marcus, my neighbor that lived on the lake, but then fast forward, I was just turning pro, and the Pointless crew used to be at my house on Lake Willis before I would even get home from high school. So I'd come home from high school, and Chad and Ruck and Parks and Watson and Shane and all the grub, they'd all be at my house, like
just waiting for you,
already building the rail for the day, and already, boats in the water ready to go. Those guys used to come over and start riding before I even got home from school.
So that was the spot for a while.
Yeah, it was either a lot of the Pointless movie, pretty much all of it was shot primarily at Betty Bonifay's house in Lake Alfred or at my parents' house on Lake Willis. So if you go back and watch the Pointless video, anything behind an Nautique was basically Lake Willis, and anything behind the Bonifay's Mastercraft was Lake Alfred. So, my parents kind of let us do whatever we wanted to do, and we'd build rails and just, go to town. So, but those were probably some of my favorite memories, was riding with those guys. And we were definitely in a, area of progression. We were all about like filming like crazy lines of, 720, 720, 900, backside five. So we were all like trying to, push each other and film like not just one trick at a time, but we were all about filming like skate style, like a line of tricks to where there was all, the camera didn't stop rolling.
I'm thinking of Ruck's line in Pointless. I don't even know. It was like 4 or 5 tricks long. And it was just
we all,
good.
that was like all of our goal was to do like a line. And I think Ruck did like toe 7, heel 7, backside 5, switch backside 5. Or I can't remember exactly what, but, and then I remember I had a line of like heel 7, toe 7, back 5, toe 9. Like we were all about linking up the hard tricks.
Yeah, which is sick. That's so sick to see. Okay, where was the slam? Was that at?
That was at the Bonifay's house.
That was at the Boniface. Okay, because that was behind Mastercraft.
It was,
right.
So we had built a bunch of rails just right out in front of the Boniface house, and I think it was Francois and Shane built this big high flat bar, and they were, they had like an up ramp to it, but the up ramp was basically touching the flat bar. I want to say the flat bar was probably like 6 feet tall. It was pretty much head high, and they had an up ramp to it. And then me and Chad came over one day, and we were like, move the up ramp back a little bit. Like, let's, step it up. And that was a bad call, because then me and Chad just started like, we'd hit it and then we'd move it back, and then we'd hit it and then we'd move it back. And that time I just like, you can see it in the video, but I went to cut and I cut too early, and then I cut back at it. And I just, as soon as I got on that first rail, I kind of compressed, and I thought I was going to swing to the outside of the rail, but the rope kind of pulled me right back into it. So, I pretty much just tried to get my head to the side, and my feet went to the other side and took it to my stomach. But, I do remember like being in the air thinking like, I'm dead. Like when I hit the water, I was like, I can't believe I'm still conscious.
It just didn't end right there
and alive, So in midair, I kind of saw my life flash before my eyes, and then I hit the water, and I realized, hey, I'm conscious. I'm hurting, but I'm alive. I didn't hit my head. I'm conscious, and I ended up, I took my boots off, and they kind of helped me get out of the water, and I ended up being fine. I mean, I felt like I got in a car accident. Like I was so sore. Every muscle in my body was so sore for several days. And then I went home, and my mom saw the footage and then made me go to the emergency room. But then I went to the emergency room and I sat there for like 4 hours and no one had seen me. And I was like, man, if I don't have internal bleeding and I'm not like dying yet, I think I'm fine.
What happened by now, probably.
Yeah, I ended up taking a couple weeks off and then I was fine. So I got really, really lucky, but that also kind of changed my perspective on just the consequences of that kind of stuff. You know, I'm like, all right, you know, I'm going to stick to hitting the wake for a little while. I mean,
You did dabble back in rails,
I
though.
mean, I did do other stuff, but there was always like, I was way more calculated going forward, knowing that like, I mean, it can be a matter of death at that point. Like if you're not extremely calculated, I feel like you can still get really broke off now, but like hitting rails with a System 2 or a cable is completely different than hitting the type of rails we used to hit back in the day. I mean, everything is designed to be so safe now to where there's like not a lot of opportunity for that. But back in the day when we were building our own stuff and trying to progress rail riding, it was like you could easily die if you didn't, you know, do things the right way.
Well, there's a reason they call the front of the rail now the safety.
Right.
It's so you don't run into it and get totally broke off.
And some of the stuff, like I was thinking back to like the welcome video for Hyperlite. Like I remember just showing up to Lake Radar and being like, someone's going to die.
Yeah.
Like this is way too gnarly.
Yeah.
But after that crash, that was like, for the rest of my career, I was very, very much more calculated. And, you know, I was probably 15 or 16 when I
didn't know you were that young.
Yeah. So you're invincible in your own head. And then I'm like, hey, you know, maybe I need to
wake up call at
check
15,
myself
16.
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was also, kind of thinking about like rail riding now. You can get so many reps on legitimate rails. Back then, I mean, sure, you guys are getting a lot of reps on jet skis and boats, but like it's nothing compared to a full day at the cable, you know? So it's, feel isn't quite what it
The feel's different. Also the boards are so much different. Like, and I would much rather ride rails on a system or a cable park now. But like, you know, I remember going to OWC back in the day and there wasn't one rail there. It was just in its infancy. So yeah, I mean, I think it makes so much sense now that the sport is like, there's park riding, rail riding, and boat riding. And, you know, I just don't think that it's like hitting a rail behind a boat. I mean,
I got to ask, do you think they should what were your thoughts on the rails on the Pro Wakeboard Tour? And would you want to see them back?
I mean, I don't think they need like a lot of rails. I don't know. I have two different opinions because one, I do think it added like to the flow and the timing, and it added more excitement, like going back and watching like even some of the X Games runs. It's kind of cool. Like wake trick, hitting the fun box and like timing it all out to flow. But at the same time, I hated wakeboarding in a helmet. Like doing wake tricks in a helmet made no sense. I almost think wakeboarding in a helmet is more dangerous than hitting a rail without the helmet. So,
I would fully agree. I'm not scientifically backed on that, but like it logically would
so
make
because
sense.
of like insurance with the Pro Tour and whatever, we had to wakeboard in a helmet, and it was like, to me, that was more dangerous. But yeah, I mean, I'm mixed. Ultimately now I feel like it just makes more sense to have boat contests without rails, but at the same time, I think it did add a little bit of excitement, and it made it, I think, more relatable too to people, because like, you know, transferring a fun box and doing like a front board or a back lip, you know, it's more relatable because now I feel like, you know, it's like 1080 double cab roll, you know, and it's just, unless you're like know wakeboarding inside and out, it's hard to relate to
Can't
someone
differentiate what's
doing
going on
that.
anyways.
Yeah. So I think it did add to the sport to have the rails in there, and it made it a better spectator sport. But like, I just don't know if it makes sense, like logistically, financially, to like ship these.
Put a big ad on the side. There you go.
Right.
But you got to have the company that wants to do it.
I wouldn't be opposed to them doing, at least maybe do a few contests that way, but not everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, at the time, that probably helped me because we were the pointless crew and we were like,
you guys were getting reps.
Yeah. And we definitely, excelled on the pro tour because of the rail category.
Yeah.
So
helps you guys out a lot.
But yeah, I mean, I just, with where park riding and, system twos and all that stuff, I mean, to me, that's the place for rail riding.
It fits the best there for sure.
Right.
I always thought it'd be funny if you put the rail first in the run and then wear the helmet for the rail. You ditch it real quick and then the rest of your run goes without
I used to
helmet.
ditch my helmet when I hit the last rail before I would hit the double up. I would always ditch the helmet for the double up.
That's smart.
Yeah.
I think so. You were ahead of your time there with that. I just came up with that idea right now, but that's smart.
Yeah. I'd toss the helmet before the boat pulled me for the double up.
All right, let's kind of bring it back. First board sponsor, because you were on a double up. Was there something before that, or was that your first?
No. So yeah, my first real sponsor was double up, which is funny because so back in the day, like Greg Nelson and the whole double up crew, they were very West Coast, but I was born in California. So like I was, I didn't have a water ski background. So, but I was terrible at spinning when I told you, I learned all those inverts really quickly. I didn't learn 360s or backspin 180s. So I was really actually bad at spinning when I first started wakeboarding. I was really good at doing flips, but it took me a while to really figure out how to spin. And I remember actually going down to ride with Mike Ferraro in West Palm Beach. And, he was coaching the top guys at the time. And my mom and dad were like, hey, we'll pay for you to go ride with Mike for a few sessions. And I really wanted to learn to spin because Greg Nelson told me if I ride for double up, I need to get better at spinning. And I was trying frontside 360s, and I came back to the dock, and I think it was like Jeff here, or someone that was riding with Mike at the time was like, "Oh, that's cool, man. You're trying front mobs?" And I was like, "No." Like I could not spin to save my life, which, ended up being my strong suit later in my wakeboard career. Was I was kind of known for spinning, but in the beginning I definitely wasn't.
Didn't have it.
So I signed with double up. I mean, Greg Nelson was just super cool with our, to my family. And my dad actually helped Greg like with some of the sponsorships for his bus tour that he was doing at the time. And yeah, I mean, definitely appreciate him giving me the opportunity. And I was in an ad. Me and my sister were in a double up ad. My dad actually just recently brought me like the cutout of the magazine.
Sick.
And it's me and my sister in a double up ad. Because my sister was
I heard she was a ripper, dude.
She was a pro wakeboarder before I was, but I was still competing in the juniors, and she was already riding on the women's pro tour. And so we both got sponsored by Double Up, and we were in an ad together. But yeah, Greg was just like, you ride for Double Up, you got to learn to spin.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I mean, it's all full circle now. But yeah, Greg definitely, had my back early on. So that was cool.
What are we talking with Double Up when you first signed? I mean, what are we looking at?
Oh, that was just, I mean, I wasn't even a pro yet. So I think they might have helped me out with some travel expenses here and there, but I definitely wasn't on salary, and it was just like a few boards here and there.
Yeah. I mean, you're still super young too, right?
Yeah. I mean,
so.
Yeah, I was probably 14 when I signed with Double Up.
Okay. So I guess walk through the next few years of like continuing to go pro, and like when does it really start to turn either like winning wise and then also like financially, where you start picking up some sponsors and it's like, oh, this is real now.
Yeah. So I started competing in the boys division. And I guess I could do the math backwards, but I started on the pro tour in 2000. So it would have been like 98, 99. I was in the junior division, and then probably like 97, 96, I competed in the boys division.
Okay.
So when I first started competing in the boys division, I was competing against JD Webb and Philip Sovin. So we went through the whole circuit for all those years together. But yeah, I went to my first contest. I was probably like 14. And got beat by Phil at like the first contest I ever went to. And then I didn't do great in the boys division, but when I got into the junior division, I won like some nationals and I won the junior masters. So that was like 98, 99. I won the world title as a junior. Actually, battle with Mark Kenny.
Yeah.
Those years, me and Mark Kenny were kind of like the top juniors. So me and Kenny kind of battled it out like 98, 99 on the junior circuit. And I had some big wins. I won the worlds. I won the junior masters. And then I was still riding double up at that time. And I couldn't ride their boots because they just weren't making like a good boot at the time. And I rode some Hyperlite high back boots. And I was like, I mean, double up wasn't paying me. So it was like, if I'm going to like, I'd rather win a contest and wear good boots. Yeah. So like I started riding the high back boots, and Paul O'Brien from Hyperlite sent me a pair of high backs, and that kind of started my relationship with Hyperlite. So yeah, I had plans after I won the junior title in 99, the world title, then I had plans to go pro. And I kind of went to Nelson at Double Up and was like, hey, I want to ride on the pro tour. Can you pay me? Can you pay for me to travel on the pro tour? And he was like, unfortunately, no, like we just don't, that's not our thing.
Different brand, different direction, I feel like, right?
Yeah. Still. But that was like, my dream was to, be on the pro tour. Yeah. So, I think Paul, kind of reached out to me, or he had sent me a few different pairs of boots at that time. And that was when it was like Hyperlite was the dream team to be on. And, he offered me a contract and to, pay me a salary and to support me on the pro tour. So, I signed with Hyperlite and started that relationship with Paul and Herb. And, I think that was an era where like, they were looking for like a new pro model board. So, Paul kind of approached me with the idea of, when I first signed with Hyperlite, I was riding the Belmont, which was Murray's pro model. Yep. And then I was also riding the finless Byerly board because they had just signed Byerly right before they signed me. So Byerly had like his finless board, and I rode both of those for a little while. And then Paul was like, hey, let's create a pro model for you. And that was when we came out with the first Premier board that was kind of a blend of the Belmont and the finless Byerly at the time. It had molded in fins. And then Sun did a super cool graphic that was like it was an orange and blue board, and it had like this like I don't know, very Sun, he did all the graphics at the time. So yeah, I had one size. It was a 135. That was like my, I think that was my second year on Hyperlite, but I had a pro model. And then, so yeah, 2000 was my first year on the pro tour. And I actually won a pro tour stop my first year on tour in Oklahoma City in 2000. And I was on the podium with Darren and Murray, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I've always been, even at that age, I was 6 feet tall. So I'm like this young kid,
just way above everyone.
I knew Murray and Darren, but I was like tight with Parks.
Yeah.
But for me, it was, it was pretty cool to be on the podium with Murray and Darren for my first pro win, because they're just like these iconic legends of the sport.
Yeah.
And then I'm also like way taller than both of them. So I'm like, I'm on the top of the podium, and then I'm also like 8 inches taller than both of them. So I'm just like, that was a cool memory. It was my first pro win, but it was in Oklahoma City, and it rained, and it was in like the muddiest mud pit of water. And that was actually when water ski jumping was still a part of the pro wakeboard tour.
I did not know that.
So we would wakeboard, but I think there's maybe like 6 to 10 guys that would actually jump.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of combined. So
interesting.
Yeah. That was my first pro win in 2000. And then 2001, I won the first XGames that I won. So I was like, I won one my rookie year on tour. I was like rookie of the year. And then that was, at that time it was a little bit of like changing of the guard. It was the new guys coming up in the sport that were riding and doing different tricks. So that was when it really turned on, I would say, was 2001.
Would you say that early 2000s Hyperlite team was the greatest wakeboard team to exist of all time?
I mean, at the time it was yeah, for wakeboarding it was like the dream team.
I mean, let's list some names here. You, Parks, Byerly, Murray, Grubb, Ruck, Chad, JD Webb, and Aaron Rathie. Little grommets on.
Yeah, I mean that's
insane.
The who's who of the sport at the time, all on the same team,
which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I remember doing those autograph signings, and you just you good. I fully headbutted the mic, but yeah, we'd be doing the autograph signing and look down, and it would just be like all those dudes, and some, I still looked up to most of those guys, So yeah, kind of have to pinch yourself and be like, dude, I'm at the table with all these guys.
Insane. It's almost like Ronix kind of needed to happen because not all those guys can stay on one company.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that was super sustainable, but like that was all Paul O'Brien and his vision, and like, I think what Paul also was, Paul did a great job of like, hey, I'm gonna take this guy and like, I'm gonna make him a superstar in the sport. Where like, had I not signed with Hyperlite, I probably wouldn't have had that early success that I did have, because he was very good about like marketing the riders.
Make these guys heroes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, all the posters that they would do, and
there's so many sick,
all
ads.
the videos that they would do. He put a lot into us to make us, marketable.
Larger than life kind of characters. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So when you did sign with Hyperlite first, what are we talking? You remember what that was?
That I want to say probably like $2,000 a month.
Okay. And I'm actually more curious on the duration. Was it like a 1 year or 3 year? Like
usually
back then, how'd it work?
Yeah. Usually it'd be like a 2 or 3 year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you reassess after 2 or 3 years and figure it out. Okay. I was curious on that.
Yeah. Cause I think when I first signed, I didn't have a pro model. So I was probably getting a couple grand a month when I first signed. And then once I got the pro model, then it's like you have your base salary, but then you have royalties, which, that's kind of like, could be a lot. Don't know.
We'll find out at the end of the year when so many people bought my board. All right. I mean, let's run through some other sponsors at the time, because I mean, back then there was a lot of marketing dollars from random brands thrown in. So like, do you remember some maybe obscure sponsors you had at that time that, or you picked up later, and it's just kind of looking back like, oh.
So I signed with Fox Racing pretty early on in my career. They had just signed Murray, and I think I signed with Fox in 2000. It was for sure 2000, because that was my first year at X Games in San Francisco, and I didn't really ride very well, but I had just signed with Fox, and Fox is headquartered in Morgan Hill, which is real close to San Francisco. And it was the coolest thing. Fox picked me and Murray up in a helicopter from San Francisco and flew us to Morgan Hill, because they were having like a big Fox dealer party meeting.
Yeah.
And they were up at this lake. I forget the name of the lake in Morgan Hill, but it's a super cool lake. Like up in the mountains, big grassy hills. Todd Hicks from Fox could tell us the name of the lake, but me and Murray got flown in a helicopter, and we jumped out of the helicopter into the dealer meeting, and then like did wakeboard demos and hung out with all the big Fox dealers that were just like having a lake party that day.
Yeah.
And then got driven in the car back to get picked up in the heli and flown back to the X Games.
What a day.
Yeah. So Fox was an awesome sponsor. I mean,
you were with them a while.
Yeah, I was with them for a really long time. They signed Murray, and then they signed me. And for a long time, it was just me and Murray. They were like, they wanted to be like in it, but not like fully in it. But then they ended up sponsoring, a bunch of other people down the line. But like for a long time, it was just me and Murray, and got to do some really cool stuff. Like, I mean, I was a fan of motocross. I rode motocross growing up. I mean, not like seriously, but I had dirt bikes, and I watched Supercross, and watched Jeremy McGrath and Ricky Carmichael and James Stewart. So like I got to be friends with Carmichael and James and all those guys. And like,
so sick.
I would go to the races with the Fox crew, and like, that's the best crew to go to a Supercross race with.
Yep.
So like, I remember being in San Francisco for like James Stewart's like breakout pro year, like when his first year of riding in the 125 class.
Yeah.
He was wearing like all pink gear. And yeah, I mean, that was really cool. Fox was a really cool sponsor because they were getting into everything. Like they decided to be like more than just BMX, motocross, mountain bike. They started getting into surfing and wakeboarding, and more action sports. And that part of that was because Todd Hicks was a team manager for Fox Amateur Motocross, and he was really into wakeboarding. And then his good buddy, who is John Fox, who is the son of the original Fox that started the company. But John, we call him Scrap. I got to be really tight with him. Him and Todd Hicks were both super into skateboarding and wakeboarding, and they had a nautique. So they were like, they go wakeboarding on the weekends. And yeah, so they were like fans of the sport. And, John was like the lead designer for Fox clothing and gear, but he was also like, gave his input on marketing. So they decided to sponsor surfers and wakeboarders. So like I signed with Fox, and then I think maybe 1 or 2 years into it, like I got to go on a surf trip to the Maldives with Kalani Robb, who they signed as a pro surfer. And so I got to do.
You were in at the perfect time at Fox.
I got to do a lot of cool stuff with those guys. And then, it was awesome because they were, fans of the sport, but they were also helping to like put wakeboarding in that, in that realm of like, Travis Pastrana's and X Games. And I think Fox getting into it also helped legitimize wakeboarding.
Interesting.
I was sponsored by Billabong for a long time too.
Still rocking the Billabong tee today.
Yeah. So unfortunately, Fox pulled out of wakeboarding. I've had a long-term relationship with Billabong, especially Scott Bouchard, who's the East Coast sales rep for Billabong. But Scott, kind of the same story. Scott was a pro surfer, became the rep for Billabong, but loved wakeboarding and, lived in Florida and thought wakeboarding was cool. And he kind of pushed Billabong into sponsoring wakeboarding very early on. There was a period of time where he was also with Hurley. So I
forgot about Hurley.
I've rocked Hurley for a long time. And then I signed with Fox, which, I forget when it was into my Fox career, but at one point I rocked a Billabong life jacket for a long time because Fox didn't ever make life jackets.
Yeah.
And then, Butchie would, Billabong actually paid me to wear their life jacket. And then I was,
you're double dipping.
Yeah, big time. And at the same time, I was sponsored by Reef, the shoe company, the sandal company.
So you're doing the head-to-toe deal is what,
So Reef started making clothing, too, at one point. So I was like...
Triple dipping.
Yeah. I mean, I was aware of it at the time, but like... And so were those companies.
They were fully aware of it.
Yeah, they were like, all right, so you're wearing Reef shoes, Billabong life jacket, Fox board shorts.
Yep.
And then Spy, I was a Spy. I was actually sponsored by Oakley, like early. Me and Shane Bonifay and Parks, we were all Oakley guys. And then Oakley kind of bailed on wakeboarding at that time. So then I got sponsored by Spy. And then I was kind of under the Aaron Grace umbrella of Spy and Monster for a long time. And, so it was a great time to be a pro wakeboarder. We had a lot of companies supporting the sport, and a lot of the surf companies or action sports companies that were like very supportive of wakeboarding, and wakeboarding was very much prime time, X Games, live TV. And, I think, I'm definitely fortunate that I got to be in the sport in what I would consider like the heyday of action sports, being like new and fresh and exciting.
Yeah, and there were definitely a lot of marketing dollars from a lot of brands getting pumped into these new, exciting, fresh sports.
Right.
All right, we got to dive into this a little bit more. So you said Monster. Did you get any offers from any others? I mean, over the years, or was it was it a Monster and that was kind of it?
So I wouldn't say I had offers. You know, I would have accepted money from any energy drink company that wanted to pay me. I mean, to me, like, obviously, you know, and I'm a huge fan of Red Bull and I love those guys. And Red Bull has, even when I was a Monster athlete, you know, they've taken care of, I think, the sport of wakeboarding better than any other.
Be hard to argue. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then, you know, the events that Red Bull would put on, you know, if I had a choice, I would have rode for Red Bull.
Yeah.
But I didn't really have that choice. And, you know, I don't know exactly, but like from my understanding, like Red Bull was a company to ride for, but like they didn't pay quite as good as Rockstar and Monster in that era of like the big three. So, you know, could look at it two ways, but like Monster paid me pretty good for a lot of years. So
yeah, because I think that's what Park said when I was talking to him. He's like, they, you know, Red Bull definitely didn't pay as well, but they also had some more projects that they were willing to work with you on. And I mean, you still look at Parks this day. It's like
Red Bull used to do the coolest events.
Cool
like
shit.
They did the depth charge, which was like you're riding in a cave underground. I mean, the stuff that they did, and like, you know, how I was saying Fox elevated the sport, Red Bull 100% elevated the sport.
Absolutely did. That's interesting. Okay. So let's talk, I mean, some more sponsors. You were with Hyperlite for, I don't know how many years, till 2006 probably?
Yeah. I signed with Hyperlite in 2000 and then was there till 2006.
Okay. So let's talk, you know, for those who have no idea, the whole Ronix situation. Let's, like, I guess just kind of paint a picture of what happened.
Yeah. So, I mean, to paint a picture, I would have to start by saying Herb O'Brien.
Start at the roots, yeah.
Right. So I'm sure you guys have heard of O'Brien. You know, that was Herb's original company. Herb then, you know, I mean, long story short, it's, you know, I think it's pretty public knowledge, but like Herb got in trouble and went to prison and lost O'Brien. And he came back and started HO, Herb O'Brien. So, you know, super creative on the on the names. But so it started HO, and then Herb, you know, started building the first compression molded wakeboard, which was the Hyperlite. And then Hyperlite kind of became its own company. You know, originally I think Hyperlite was just the wakeboard at HO, but then Hyperlite became its own company. I think Herb quickly realized that like he's not super in tune with the whole wakeboard world, but his son Paul was. So Paul and Herb, you know, ran Hyperlite. That was the era of the dream team. And then at one point when Herb owned Hyperlite, he had an investor come in and he was, you know, owned a big portion. I don't think he was the majority owner, but he owned enough to where him and Herb were not seeing eye to eye. And so Herb basically just stormed out and said, I want you to buy the rest of the company from me. And they agreed for Herb to have a non-compete clause, basically meaning that he can't start a new company within a certain time period. So Herb sold his majority ownership, or he sold all of his ownership in HO Hyperlite, and then just kind of, you know, behind the scenes, like, you know, started thinking about, you know, what to do next. And that was square one, Ronix and Radar. So after the non-compete was up, he, you know, started hiring people to start square one, which became Ronix and Radar. So I was riding for Hyperlite at the time, and, you know, it was like those guys are leaving. And when Paul told me they were going to start a new brand, I was like, I'm in. You know, I just had, I turned down like pretty crazy money at the time.
Okay, let's hear it, Danny.
To stay with, I had offers to stay with Hyperlite.
Yeah.
And Hyperlite had, in that interim time, they had actually hired a team manager that was from Nike, and he was only there for a short period of time, but he was like trying to keep the team intact. And, you know, I want to say I had an offer of like close to $100,000 a year to stay
Just for Hyperlite.
to stay on Hyperlite,
Yeah.
which is, I remember hearing like Darren had $100,000 deal with O'Brien when he signed, but like, I don't know if it was exactly that, but it was close to $100,000.
Yeah.
And I just knew that like I might get $100,000 for the next 2 years or whatever this contract is, but then that's going away. And I just knew that Paul and Herb were going to do something special in the sport.
Yeah.
And I do think that was probably the best career move I ever made, was
Ask.
turning down $100,000 to stay on Hyperlite and going to ride for Ronix and Radar, and be a part owner and create the, one pro model, which I think that first pro model, it was a totally different board that put Ronix on the map. And, Ronix also came out with like the best boot design that anyone had ever seen at that time. So like it went from like no one even knowing what Ronix was to like, this is the best high-end wakeboard company like overnight.
Yeah, they got the riders, they got the product. It's like
Right.
big splash.
So me and Chad, and not a lot of people know this, but actually, when we decided to start the company, we didn't have a name right away. Like actually me, Paul, and Chad sat around at a restaurant in Cocoa Beach and came up with the name Ronix.
How? Where did the I was so curious on this. Because Radar makes sense, but
So like Hyperlite, those words mean something. We kind of wanted a
very
name.
light.
Right. We wanted a name that we could kind of define what the company meant and what we were all about. So we didn't want like, we didn't want to call it like waterboards or, so we made up a word is basically what we did.
How do you get to Ronix? Do you remember?
Yeah.
How many napkins are you scratching on to get to Ronix?
I mean, we were just kind of like, like writing random words down that don't mean something. And I think part of it came from Rolex.
Okay.
Rolex. It's like rolls off the tongue.
It does.
Ronix, Rolex. Ronin was a Burton brand.
Okay.
So
Kind of
Ronin, Rolex. I mean, that's kind of some inspiration.
Yeah.
And we had other ones too, but Ronix stuck. And then we had a conversation like it's Ronix, but people call it Ronix.
A lot of people call it Ronix.
A lot of people call it Ronix.
Yeah.
So we always wanted it to be Ronix, or at least I did.
Yeah.
So we even contemplated putting the umlaut over the top, which makes it like the hard O.
Yeah.
And there's some logos that you would see that the two dots over the O meaning it's like a hard O. So yeah, we came up with the name Ronix in a restaurant in Cocoa Beach.
Interesting. I've always wondered where that came from, and I've never gotten. So that's very interesting.
Me, Paul, and Chad sitting around at a table, and we were like, "That's it.
That's it. We're starting at square one. We're going with Ronix.
We're going with that one."
All right. Before we move into some more Ronix stuff, let's hit a Patreon question from Maxwell Berry. So a huge thank you to everybody on the Patreon. Your guys' support is what keeps this podcast going. And he's wondering, what is your favorite Hyperlite Premiere board graphic from over the years?
Favorite Premiere was probably, it was year 2 of the Premiere board, and it was so I think that was 2002 probably, but it was green and white, and it had like a very abstract like DJ guy with all this like collage like words coming out of the middle of it. It was just actually I really wanted to buy it, but I think Sun was selling that piece of art recently, like the original art that came from. And that was my favorite. It was just very like cool and had a cool style to it. The year after that was like the Chinese mask, which
I'll see if I can throw in some photos.
Yeah, everyone loved it was like a Chinese style mask. Everyone loved that graphic, but I think I liked the one previous to that. Yeah. But then there was other cool graphics too. But I mean, yeah, Sun's graphics were really cool and unique at that time.
Very unique. Very sick. All right, so let's talk kind of the Ronix One, where the name come from. Run through the process of getting to this board.
Yeah, so I guess the Premiere was like a lot of people's favorite board, and I had that board with Hyperlite from I guess it was 01 to 06, so like a 5-year run of the Premiere board. And when we started Ronix, I just wanted to do something completely different. So my background and passion for surfing in the ocean, I kind of where my head went was like, if you look at a surfboard, like a true ocean surfboard, it's like very round through the center, and then it tapers to a harder rail down towards the tail. And, you know, there's some definite purpose in there. You don't see a surfboard that's like a hard edge all the way to the front. So I started trying that with the first prototypes where like the edge got very round through the center of the board, which was different. It had a very different look to anything that was being done at the time. I mean, most boards look like back to what the one board is now, but you know, it was never that full of a rail through the center. And then I had a lot of crazy rocker in the nose and tail. And instead of molded in fins, it was just 2 bolt-on side fins. But it totally changed the way I rode, because like I love the board, but I also had to change my riding around it. But a lot of other people love that board too. Like I know Dean Smith rode that board a lot, and he crushed it on it and like rode totally different than I did. But I remember like I would shift my weight a lot more. Like if I wanted to come into the wake and be like more loose, I could come in more front foot heavy, and you'd be more on the front rail, and the fins and the back wouldn't really grab nearly as much. But if I wanted to be more locked in edging, I could just like stand more back foot heavy. So it opened up like a new style of kind of the way I rode. But I think part of it, like the board just looks so cool on the shelf. Like you look at a wall of wakeboards, and at the time, you know, everything was like bright colors and very much art and busy. And then there was this one board that was all white, and it looked crazy. Like the lines of the board, it was like looking at a Ferrari next to like a Honda Civic, you know, like it just looked like that board is cool. I want to ride that.
Yeah.
And it was probably more advanced for like the average rider, but most, like even an average rider could get on it and ride it pretty good. So they had a really good feedback. And I think it was also just like the graphic was so unique, just all clean and white. And so this board here, that's the 10-year anniversary of that graphic. But yeah, that was like the start of the one board, and then I ran with that shape for probably 3 or 4 years, and then ended up like modifying it.
Okay, so actually, this brings up another Patreon question from Jaden Bailey, and he's wondering, with almost 20 years of the iconic one boards, is there a model year that was your favorite shape graphic, and do you recall any tech that you guys changed or added to significantly change the board?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably 2 answers to that. One of my favorites was the original that I was just talking about with the more surf rail through the center. And like a lot of people love that board, and even Parks, you know, he loved that board, and he ended up doing something along those lines with his pro model with Ronix at the time. But then I think my next favorite would be like when I went to more of what I ride now, which the board's designed to flex a little bit more. And I think probably because I was getting older and needed a little bit more forgiveness in the landings. But what I really liked is the top water speed. So kind of the idea behind the current one board is that, you know, it's got a really hard edge. So similar to like a skimboard when you're wake surfing, that hard edge, it's like it's riding really high on the water, where that rounded edge, and you can see this in like surfboard design too, wake surf or ocean surfboard. But like when the edge is round, the water wants to wrap over the edge. When the edge is vertical, like a vertical sidewall, like the current one board has, the water like sprays out to the side.
It's like an airplane wing kind of, right? Same effect where it's
I mean the water's deflected down versus wrapping around the board. So what that does is the board carries a lot more top water speed. So like if you were to whip, like take a high speed whip and you're going 40 miles per hour on the original one board and you went that far, if you did it on the new one board, you would go like way past that. Yeah. Just because it carries more speed. But what I found after like testing, and, you know, I've ridden so many different boards, and I've like kind of been a nerd about shaping boards, and Jason Stanley is the shaper at Ronix, and he came from Hyperlite also. So Jason shaped all of my boards that I've ever had. He shaped the premier boards at Hyperlite, and then he came on board to shape at Ronix, and he still is the shaper at Ronix. He shapes everything.
Interesting.
So me and Jason, we're like, we've got to the point where like almost like we read each other's mind kind of thing. Like
It's almost 20 years.
So we have and what we've learned, especially Jason is like so knowledgeable about what everything's going to do to the board. But what we've learned together over the years is just, like what I found when I started riding more of this flex style vertical sidewall is just that when you land with speed, it's less impactful because you're not like slowing down as you land. Yeah. So you land and you're like riding higher on top of the water. That mixed with the board having like a designed flex pattern. So like the board's designed to flex, but only to a certain point. So having that little bit of flex, I think like as the board it also kind of flattens out, which makes it faster on the water too. So yeah, I feel like I've learned a lot over the years, and, Jason is an amazing shaper, and me and him have figured a lot of stuff out together. But like, I've kind of always prided myself on, really having good shapes for a pro model. And I think that's why people have gravitated towards my boards, is because like they ride their buddy's one board and they're like, whoa, I really like that. I'm going to go buy one.
It's definitely an iconic board in the history of wakeboarding. I feel like it's a board a lot of people talk about. The one.
Yeah, and I think it goes beyond just like the graphics or the rider. I don't think that. I'm sure there's people that have bought the board because it's my pro model, but I think probably just as many people have bought the board because they just really like the way the board rides.
So you called it the One, and it's always been called the One, and you've had different layups and constructions that have different names, right? But do you think calling it the One rather than like the Harf or the Danny has been beneficial to like the lifetime span of sales of the board rather than like Parks' board is called the Parks?
Right, yeah.
I'm just kind of curious on that.
Yeah, I think, probably could have called it like the Harf model early on, but Harf's not the coolest name. Like, do you really want to ride the Harf?
Fair. It's not terrible.
It's unique. You're not gonna meet many Harfs out there. I'll tell you that. But yeah, I think we called it the One board because it was the first pro model. I was the first rider to sign onto Ronix. Okay. Like I called Paul first and said I'm in.
Yeah. So you're the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was pro model number 1.
What do you think about the name The Zero? Is it better or worse than One?
All I know is, imitation's the best form of flattery.
All right, let's talk about some more sponsors before we get into kind of current Ronix stuff, because you mentioned, you had a big contract out there, $100,000 you could have had. What's the biggest year you had? Do you remember?
Excuse me.
Full on contest winnings, everything involved.
I think probably in my best year financially, I would say maybe around 350.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's with contest winnings and all that wrapped into it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good year.
Yeah.
You buy anything big that year?
Yeah, probably a house. I think probably I had a couple years around 300, probably one closer to 350.
Do you think anybody cracked $1 million?
I doubt it.
You doubt it? Okay.
Yeah.
I keep throwing that out there with people. I just want to see, if anybody hit that million mark.
I don't think so. I think
hard to do. That's a lot of money. All right, we took a little break. I think it's time we dive back in. We dive into the LF'n wheel of questions presented by Liquid Force. So go ahead and grab that wheel down.
The LF'n wheel of questions.
Okay, let's go.
Liquid Force likes to make wakeboarding fun. Let's make this podcast a little bit more fun. Spin the LF'n wheel of questions.
All right, what do we got here?
You can read a couple on there. I know there's hot take, which you kind of started off with a hot take with the method, which I loved.
Good. I've got a strong opinion about the method.
I like to hear
Steal a trick. I like that. Yep. Hot take. Best Pete. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Make a movie. Ideal boat crew. That's a good one.
I think there's a couple on there. So
yeah. All right.
yeah, go ahead, give it a spin. See what we get here.
Oh wait,
That's kind of weak.
I wasn't ready.
There we go. All right. What do we got? What'd she land on?
Ideal boat crew.
Okay, so there's five people, including yourself.
Okay.
Everybody's in their prime.
Okay.
So it's not right now. It's everybody's in their prime.
Nice.
So
I like
go
that.
ahead and
I mean, ideal boat crew. I mean, for like good vibes, I guess, or like talent.
I guess because you could go like, all right, we want the heaviest session to go down,
Right.
or we're trying to have a good day. I would say having a good day. Lake's calm, nice weather, no other boats out. You and the squad.
So I get to pick four because
Four others.
I'm in the group.
You are on the boat.
I'm gonna go Parks, Shane, Ruck, and Chad Sharp.
Okay. I feel like we could have seen that one coming.
It's kind of it's the obvious answer, but like the that's who I want to be in the boat
Okay,
with.
let's go talent then. Like
Okay.
heavy session going down.
Heavy talent, I would go Harley Clifford, Tyler Hyam, that's two.
Remember, anybody in their prime. So it could be. I'm not saying it's going to be a Byerly, but it could be Byerly in his prime. It
Yeah.
could be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
I was gonna throw a Byerly in there. I think so, because those are like I think Tyler's definitely one of my favorite to watch now.
Easy.
And I think he's like, probably one of the most talented. So yeah, Harley was like, I mean, he's still probably one of the most talented. So Harley and Tyler are like my modern era guys.
Okay.
And then I definitely go Byerly and probably Randall.
yeah. I was going to say, I feel like Randall has to be.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know?
watching Randall is like definitely, obviously we know the news,
Yeah.
but like I've got some funny Randall stories.
So we got a guest question
Yeah.
from Kilgus that'll kind of tee all that up. So I think that'll be a good
That's cool,
time to
yeah.
dive into that. But
So yeah, I think that would be a pretty like crazy,
Randall's
like,
going last, right?
like old school and modern.
Yeah. That's a good
Yeah,
squad.
I don't even know who goes last.
That's you either have Randall kick it off and is like, all right,
Yeah,
we're here,
Randall
boys.
goes
We're
first or
going.
last. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not throwing him in the middle. All right, so we got a wild card from the crew at Liquid Force, and they're wondering what makes a rider have good style in your eyes.
Honestly, I think it's like just I don't know. Maybe like it's part of your personality. I feel like
Okay.
it's kind of like I feel like you can kind of tell like what someone's like off the water.
I was going
by
to say that.
watching them ride on the water.
Yeah.
I mean, really any like board sport, I feel like you can kind of tell like what someone's going to be like based off of their style.
It's almost like you just see him walk down the dock, and it's like I can tell.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, like you see Byerly walk down the dock, you know the guy's got
Yeah.
style.
easy.
Yeah. And kind of the same like with Randall. Like the way Randall walks down the dock is kind of how he's going to get out there and ride too.
Yeah,
So-
powerful style for sure.
right, yeah. So
That's okay. That's interesting. That's an interesting take on that. I like that. All right, we can go ahead and put the elephant wheel of questions back. So thank you to Liquid Force.
shout out to LF.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I teased it, but we might as well just dive into this Sean Kilgus guest question right now.
Nice.
Hey Danny, this is Sean. I wanted to ask you a very fun question, a pertinent question to life. But first I want to say thank you and congratulations on the podcast, but also thank you for everything you did for me. The highlights of my career were with you, working on Defy, and just so much other great stuff. My question for you today is about Randall, because obviously we lost Randall this last week and it hits hard for everybody. But I wanted to ask you to talk about the time when Randall was staying at your house and it was Stephen Hahn and I and you, and we were just out filming every day, eating sandwiches, ice cream. We'd play tennis at lunch. I want to talk to you about how, Randall would watch you ride and say, Danny Harf is the best wakeboarder in the world. And then he would go ride and you'd be like, Randall's the best ever. There's no one better. And here you have two guys that are considered the greatest of all time, bouncing off each other, having fun together, being roommates. And honestly, it was one of the greatest memories I have in my career, but also just watching you guys, you know, supporting one another, having fun. And it was just an amazing season. So wanted to share that. Love you, buddy. Thank you so much. See ya.
I didn't know you guys lived together for how long?
Well, Kilgus would stay at my house a lot of the time, like before he had his own place in Florida. But yeah, what Sean's talking about is, man, I think we were probably shooting The Butter Effect. I would guess was the movie, but Randall stayed at my house for maybe like a month. And I had, known Randall for a long time. I grew up, he was probably my first real like favorite rider, because I grew up in the era of watching Mayday. And so Mayday, like Randall's like a kid. He's like, I'm too lazy to get my license. And, he rode to, it was a FLF film, Mayday. And it was like such a cool video and part. And they were in Lake Powell. So everything just looked beautiful. But he rode to this like rapping Fote, like super gangster song. And it was like, I wanted to be Randall when I was a kid. And Randall is, I guess he's probably 3 years older than me. So like, he was like probably 16. I don't know, maybe something around then when he filmed for Mayday. Yeah. Because he was like, hadn't got his license yet, but he should have. So, I think, Randall was probably my first inspiration, because like he was like not that much older than me. Like I loved Mayday. I loved Murray and Byerly and Gator and, Thomas Harrell and all the guys that were in Mayday. But like for me, it was Randall, because one, I liked the song in his section, but two, he was like not that much older tthan me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can do that. I want to be that. So yeah, my heart breaks for Randall. And, I don't know, I guess you'll never know, but like, I don't know why he battled the demons that he did to be like such highs and such lows. Cause like, me and Shane Bonifay were talking about this recently, but like, I know like when Randall was good, he was like so good and had the biggest heart, and he was like so, supportive. But when he was in a dark place, like there was times where like I was kind of afraid of him, like don't say the wrong thing, or like you'd see him like late night at the hotel and like stay away from him, like there was times when it was scary. And like, I know that he just battled those demons, but, when Randall was on and like when he stayed at my house, when Sean's talking about like nicest, best dude, biggest heart, like super smart, intellectual, we'd have deep conversations. And I think me and him had we both had a respect for each other's riding. And like, I wasn't trying to ride like Randall and he wasn't trying to ride like me, but like I loved watching him ride, and I think, he liked watching me ride. So there was definitely a respect there. And like, yeah, I've got some funny stories about Randall.
Let's hear one. Let's hear a Randall story.
So, I heard someone else mention this recently, but, when we were filming, in Mexico with Trevor Maurer, we were on this like beautiful lake, and, I had rode, and I made like a really good double toe side back roll, and Randall was pretty hyped on it. And he's like, he goes out and rides and like fully like crushes it, does like Randall things, no life jacket, just full send, like the biggest toe back 7 into the flats I think he did off the double up. And then after doing all that, he's like, at the end of his session, he's like, hey, throw me a life jacket. And we're like, dude, you just did all that with a life jacket, with no life jacket. Like, what do you need a life jacket for? So I throw him my life jacket, and he goes and just like charges toe side, and at like 28 miles per hour, hits a double up and goes for a double toe side back roll, and just like full send way out into the flats. And it was just cool. Like he like, I guess felt inspired by like seeing me do the double, but I was doing it like straight up wake to wake. He was just like, I'm going to do it the Randall way.
Yeah.
But that was just funny. Just that he's like, does all that, like probably should have been wearing a life jacket, but then he's like, I'm gonna really send it.
I saw Harf try to do this double toe side back row. I want to give it a shot. Did he land it?
No, I mean, he actually, I think I don't remember exactly what happened, but I mean, he was all good. Like, he could have done doubles if he wanted to.
Sure.
It just wasn't his thing.
Yeah, it wasn't his style at all.
But yeah, I mean, my heart breaks for Randall and his family, and his daughter is probably close to my daughter's age. So I just, I'm bummed for, the
situation.
Yeah, for him personally, just, that he wasn't, maybe just that he like needed the help he never got.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
He definitely has a huge legacy, and he did a lot of great things for the sport. I think that's, to me, like, I want to be remembered for more than my wakeboarding. So, I'll always remember Randall just for like being a good dude. Deep down, he was kind of, he had a hard exterior, but a super soft interior.
Yeah. And two things I'll say on that. One, obviously there's a link to, I think it's a Give, Send, Go is what it's called. For Harmony, his daughter. So obviously that will be linked at the top of the description. And then also I'm going to link a Matters by Alliance. And I don't know if you've read this recently, but I just read it the other day. And it is like incredibly moving, the words he uses to describe wakeboarding. And it's like,
he was very
intellectual.
He was very poetic and
Yeah. very
intellectual, smart dude. I mean, he's, some of the stuff he's written and like even like rapped and, He's definitely artistic in that, like, in a lot of different ways. Like, obviously his writing was like, I felt like part of his art, but he was also, just had a lot of other talents too. And one was, he was a great writer and poet.
Yeah, absolutely. So I highly suggest everybody goes and reads that. I mean, there's other articles he has too with Alliance too, which are worth reading, but that's the one that comes to mind. All right, let's talk competitive career a little bit. We'll back it up because you won 3 X Games in a row. 4 total.
Yeah.
Which one is the one that's like the one that sticks out? Is it the first one, third one, fourth one?
Yeah. I mean, I remember the first 2 were in Philly, and then it went to LA the next year. And then I would say probably it was that third one that I like three-peated. Yeah. That was like, because that kind of made it, like I was the X Games guy. But that was, I mean, that was huge for my career. And, what most people probably don't know is like, I had a clause in my contract with Fox, because to Fox, like the X Games was a big deal, like more so than anything else. Yeah. So I think I signed with Fox in 2000, and then I had a clause in my contract where basically, like, if I won the X Games, my salary went up like so much money.
Oh, it was a salary kick. So it wasn't just like a match.
It was like a jump in salary. Like, basically my next year contract would be for this much. And then, so, I was pretty motivated to win the X Games.
Yeah. Who was negotiating that? Was that Papa Harf?
But then I mean, my parents would like pretty much leave that all up.
That's
to
just
me.
smart to think of,
Yeah. Well, I think that was more so Fox that like wanted to do
Oh, they
that.
were, because they put this X Games on
the pedestal. Because to them, that's like, if you win the X Games, that's worth a lot to us.
It's kind of the most you can do, probably.
Right, because up until then, I had really only won like 1 or 2 pro events. They're like, hey, we're signing this rookie. Like, here's your contract, but
here's some incentive.
Yeah, if you win these big events, we're going to pay you a lot more money. So then I was like 3 in a row. So by the end of that, I was like, it's a pretty good contract.
I'll take these gold medals down and we'll be all right.
But yeah, I would say that the three-peat, and that was also like, I think, a good year for the X Games in general. So that was, because I think actually the last year that I won was 2005, and they went to full live coverage of the event. And that's also what kind of got wakeboarding booted out, is that, well, for ESPN to film wakeboarding live, they had to move all their camera crews from Staples Center to Long Beach Marine Stadium. So that was like a huge expense for them. Yeah. And then on top of that, like wakeboarding live coverage, there's so much downtime. Yeah. So as soon as someone falls, it's like dead air.
people are tuning off.
So wakeboarding didn't do great with the X Games as a live event, which not that made it bad for me, but just, that was the last year of it really being in there, and I did win, but it was like, I don't know. It was the third one was cooler.
Yeah,
I guess.
I mean, the three-peat. I was thinking about three-peats because Trent and Rivers were going into LAO this year, and they were going for a four-peat and a three-peat. And I was just trying to think of like, when has this happened on like a big scale of contests that happen year after year? And obviously, you did the three-peat in the early 2000s of the X Games. I'm curious on, was the X Games then the biggest stage wakeboarding's ever been on?
I mean, I would have to think so. Yeah.
Okay. And what do you think the ripple effect of that, was in like the wakeboarding culture and the influence it had those years it was in the X Games? Any idea?
I mean, I think it just exposed the sport to a lot more people that might not have had eyes on it.
It's a big deal. What is the favorite event you've ever ridden in?
I mean, I've always loved any double up contest. So double up is like my thing. I rode for double up, but I love hitting double ups.
Back-to-back bro stock champion.
I did.
Double up contest.
I won some bro stocks. I won some, Parks' double or nothing was always one of my favorites. So yeah, I'm always down for a good
big air guy.
Good double up contest.
Yeah. Okay. We got another Patreon question from Ryan Shimabukuro, and he's wondering, you were big money when it came to contest riding. Who were the top 3 riders you were worried about when standing on the dock, and why?
Top 3. I mean, early in my career, I battled with Parks pretty early on. I know there was one year that me and Parks came down to, it was probably 04 or sometime around then. But like, Parks was always a threat, in my early years on the pro tour. And one year we came down to like me and him battling it out for the overall title. And I thought I had won it because I thought Parks like aided on one of the rails, but he ended up like backlipping. It was like a really steep, like, I don't know, A-frame, I guess, but like the incline, and then it was not the
angles weren't the best.
Angles they weren't ideal. So it was like pretty steep up, and Parks like went to backlip up it and looped out. And I was like, I think that's it. I thought he was going to fall. And he ended up just like hand planting across the top of the rail and then like riding out of it and then landing a double half cab off the double up. And he like took the tour title.
Damn.
And it all came down to who finished ahead in that last event would win the overall title. That was one I didn't get because of Parks. And then for sure, Phil Sovin was like, I would have won a lot more pro tour titles if it wasn't for Phil. He was just like such a machine and so calculated and probably smarter than I was when it came to like planning his run and knowing exactly Phil probably knew what I was going to do ahead of me knowing what I was going to do. He was just like so thought out. And then, man, I guess the rest would just be a wild card because those two were like, it was first Parks and then it was Phil that, were always the ones that I was the most worried about.
Would have won a lot more without those two cats involved.
Yeah.
You won a lot though.
Yeah, I know. I did. All right.
All right. I think it's time we dive into another guest question from Garrett Cortese. Our last one here.
Danny, what's up, buddy? It's Garrett. I got a couple quick questions I'm going to fire off for you. Hope the interview with Hunter is going well. Can't wait to listen to it. But first, I want to know if you wanted to tell a story, if you remember, the last Hyperlite team trip you were a part of. I think it's 2005, before you guys started Ronix. And we took a trip down to the Keys. And then on the way back, I forget who else was in the car. I think it was Ruck and maybe Parks. But pretty sure you were driving, and we definitely ran out of gas. So I was curious if you remember that, wanted to share a little bit, and also about the funny part about getting gas. So there was that, and then one little fun factoid thing that I'm pretty sure I'm accurate on. Hopefully I am. If I'm not, I might sound like an idiot, but I'm pretty sure there's 2 riders in history that have ever won an overall PWT title, an XGames gold medal, the Alliance Rider of the Year award, and the Legend award. and those 2 riders would be you and Parks. So I just want to hear a little bit of your thought process, or your just looking back on some of those accolades that you've won, and what stands out to you and why. And then my third and final question was the 1080 or 1260. Which one were you more stoked for and why? Hope all's well, buddy. Stoked to listen to this one. Okay, guys.
I was wondering if it was going to say that because I almost said it. Okay, guys.
So there's a 3-parter. We could go. Yeah. We could start from the running out of gas. I have it written down, so don't worry about remembering it. But
okay, so I'm pretty sure I was notorious for running out of gas, but I'm pretty sure the time that he's talking about, I was towing a boat back from the Keys, and it was like my, obviously not getting normal gas mileage in the Tahoe that I was towing the boat with, but I like looked down, like, we're okay, we should probably stop soon though for gas, and then got talking and distracted, and then just like driving down the turnpike towing the boat, ran out of gas, like start losing steering, and I'm like, oh no, we're out of gas. So I pull over and we're like coasting down the turnpike out of gas, and I'm pretty sure this is the one he was talking about, because this is like
there's a lot. It's hilarious to me.
I guess, sorry Garrett, I don't really remember who was all with me at the time. I think I was like worried about running out of gas, but anyway, I'm coasting down the turnpike, like still rolling and trying to figure out what I'm going to do, and sure enough, I roll right up to a road ranger. Like the turnpike has the road rangers, like roadside assistance guys, and like he was parked on the side of the road, I think had just finished helping get someone else on the road, and I literally like ran out of gas and like had to like barely hit my brakes as I like pull up to this road ranger who just has like 5 gallons like sitting in the back of his truck. So it literally was like a 30-second detour of me running out of gas, and then like, oh, here's 5 gallons. And then I paid him for, or I forget exactly how it works. Maybe I paid him, or maybe the state paid him. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, either way, like I ran out of gas. Normally that's going to be a pretty big dilemma. It's going to take some time to get back on the road. And it was literally like, oh, here's 5 gallons, back on the road to the next like rest area to get fuel on the turnpike. So it was like, ran out of gas, but it was like best case scenario.
That one was pretty dialed. It sounds like I'm sure anybody in the car was pretty happy that was the case.
I'm pretty sure that that's what he's talking about. Otherwise, if he's talking about another time, again, I ran out of gas more than most.
In cars and boats, both.
Mainly cars.
Mainly cars.
Yeah.
I would have guessed mainly boats, honestly.
Well, I ran out of boat gas too, but typically
boat gas is not a big deal.
Yeah.
You just get somebody to tow you in and
right.
Fill it up. All right. So second part was overall. So you've won a lot of stuff. Overall PWT, X Games, Gold, Legend Award, and Rider of the Year. Yeah. Which he said Parks did that, but Parks' roadie was like a shared roadie with Randall. So I think maybe you are the only one to have won all that.
Oh.
So I don't know. Yeah, I guess just touch on like you've won a lot of stuff, Danny.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely proud of my career. I think, I had a good mix of being like successful in contests, but also being successful, with the videos and the magazines, and, like to think I'm well-rounded. I didn't really, care all that much about contests. I feel like I was, part of my MO was to be like, to go to a contest and do like a trick that no one else was doing, or, I was the first guy to really start doing like a grab toe side back roll to blind, and I started doing that in contests, and like no one else was doing that, and I was pumped on that trick, so I wanted to do it like when I didn't need to do it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to put on a show, and like I remember like Zane Schwank and Murray and Darren and all those guys being like, dude, like dial it back. You don't need to do all that, And I was like, I want to.
Yeah.
So I just, I wanted to push the sport. Obviously the videos is the best place to do that, but I tried to do it in the contest too. And, yeah, I mean, I just, I would never be content doing like the same run over and over or doing the same trick
Kinda
over and
boring,
over.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I liked hitting double ups, and I still like hitting double ups because that's like such a good place to progress and have the hang time to do new tricks. But to me, it's also like hitting the wake back and forth over and over. It got boring. It's like the same wake. It's kind of like jumping on a trampoline, doing flips and spins. It's like, to me, hitting double ups is a little bit more like surfing in the ocean. Like you got to adapt, you got to read the waves, you got to.
It's one shot. Like it's not like a
and you never know what you're gonna get. Like every double up's gonna be slightly different, and the guys who are really good at hitting double ups can like see it and adapt and change their cut on the fly and like know. I mean, it's almost like hitting a motocross jump where like those guys, they're not like, oh, what gear am I in? They can just feel the speed that they need to go to make it from point A to point B. It's kind of the same thing. It's like you just over time.
It's like a sixth sense you kind of
right.
acquire.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I need to cut a little harder right now because I'm gonna case really hard if I don't, or vice versa. So it's like, to me, it's like more of an art form, and it's not so repetitive. And it's like, I think similar to surfing in the ocean, where you're like, every wave's different, and you're like, you don't really know what's going to happen until you're on the wave. So
that's a good way to put it. I haven't heard it put exactly like that, but that's interesting to hear. So speaking of double ups, 1080 or 1260?
Yeah. I mean, I think both had their impact. Like, no one had done a 1080 for a long time when I did that.
And you did cab 10, right? Switch
right.
10?
Yeah. So Parks had done a switch toe 10, like, I forget what year it was, probably 01.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it was 99.
I think it was in the 90s.
It was maybe 99.
Fact check that.
Yeah, we can look back. It was way ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm.
They were actually, Wakeboard Magazine, I think, Parks can correct me if I'm wrong, but Wakeboard Magazine was shooting a story on the 900 because the 900 had just become like a thing. Like, Watson did a 900, Parks did a 900. It was like, only a handful of guys had even landed a 9. That was a really, really big deal. And so Wakeboard Magazine came out to film Parks doing a 900, and Doster was shooting the sequence, and Parks, just got the right kick and kept spinning and made the first ever toe 10, switch toe 10. So yeah, that was like way ahead of its time. And, it was kind of like, I actually I tried some toe 10s. I was like, getting close on regular toe 10, but just like never really clicked for me. And it was starting to like get on people's radar a little bit more, but no one was really trying heel 10s at all. And I won the Pro Tour in 2006, and I was doing cab 9, heel cab 9, off of the double up as like my double up trick for the events. So I was super consistent with a cab 9. I could pretty much make it every time. And I remember being in Reno, and I'm pretty sure Kevin Michael was like, dude, like, you dropped out of that cab 9 off the double up. I won the Pro Tour with the cab 9, and I think Kevco was judging, and he was like, dude, you were dropping out of that. Like, we knew you had it as soon as you were in the air.
Yeah.
And he's like, you got to try a 10. Like, you could totally do a switch yield 10. So I went home and I started trying it.
Yeah.
And I was getting really close, so I started filming it. So actually, the coolest part about that first heel 10 that I did, so I was living in Claremont with Rusty Malinowski at the time, and Ben Greenwood was in Claremont riding all the time, and me and Rusty went out with Andrew Atkinson. I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was just the three of us, and I had Andrew filming because Rusty was driving. He was the only, Andrew wasn't really a filmer. I'm just like, hey, film this just in case.
Yeah.
And me and Ben was riding on his boat, but we were like sharing the line. So we were like passing each other and, not messing up the water to ride on the good line there in Claremont, Lake Minnehaha. And, I'm like middle of the run. It was like totally a dick move because we were sharing the whole time, but I'm like, Russ, drive me a double up. I was just kind of like feeling it.
Yeah.
So I had Rusty drive me a double up in the middle of the line, which is going to like roll out the whole thing for Ben. But I was like feeling it, and I mean, rollers go away, so I knew he'd get over it. But Ben was coming at, like, riding back towards us, and Rusty does the double up. So I'm like, the towboats are basically going like this, and I'm hitting the double up, and I land the switch heel 10.
Stomped it too.
And Ben is riding right at me. So he sees me land, you know, while he's wakeboarding, he sees me land the first ever switch heel 10. And he's just like, what? And me and Ben are buddies. And so he probably knew that I was trying it. But yeah, I stomped it, landed. Like, Andrew's in the boat freaking out. Rusty's freaking out. And then Ben lets go of the handle. And basically me and Ben like high five as we're sinking into the water.
I was so curious because in the video you see Ben and the boat kind of like drive by on the right. And it's like, I had no idea you guys were sharing the line. And then you did a double up right in the middle.
Yeah. So Ben was like, we literally high-fived sinking back into the water, and then we were all like celebrating for a while. So that was actually a really cool one because, you know, me and Ben are still to this day good buddies, and it was cool. Like, he was there to witness it. And, but yeah, I mean, I guess the 1260, realistically, that was a bigger deal in the long run. And then kind of the way it went down with like, I started trying the 1260 and like getting really close, and then I was having like Shane and the Pointless crew like help me to film it. But that was over on Lake Hiawassee, the lake I live on now, and I was getting really, really close and like took a few really bad crashes. Like, I remember one time I went out the front and almost got my head like stuck in the handle, and I was like beat up and sore. I'd been trying it. So we went and golfed at the golf course right up the street and played like 9 holes, and then came back and I landed it. I mean, I definitely like wheelied out of it, but it didn't matter.
Well, your butt didn't hit though, right?
No, it was just like I wheelied a little bit and put up a spray, but I didn't butt check. Yeah. So, but yeah, anyway, I made the 12 and like didn't really tell anyone because it was just a Pointless crew in the boat. And we all like kept it under wraps. And then at the Wake Awards that year, the Wake Awards was like a few weeks away. So I was kind of like a buzzer beater make for the Wake Awards. And I had told Todd Hicks, the team manager at Fox, that I had made it. And, you know, they played all the submissions for Trick of the Year and then saved mine for the end. And like no one knew I landed it. Everyone kind of knew what else had been done, but no one knew I made the 12.
And you know, the 12's taking down the win. Like,
yeah, I mean, it was kind of like a given that was going to take the win. Yeah. So it was cool. Like, the whole place went nuts, and only a few people had seen the footage. So
those are the moments that are so sick.
They both kind of had their thing. Like the whole Ben Greenwood high five was super cool. Yeah. And that was like, you know, no one was doing 1080s since Parks. And then, I mean, I don't think anyone was really even thinking about a 1260 other than me at that time. Yeah. So it was cool, like, to just catch the whole industry off guard and drop a 1260.
It had to be a good night when you win the Trick of the Year. I mean, and like nobody's expecting that's going to go down. Like, that's got to be a good feeling moment. Right?
Yeah, I think we celebrated that one pretty hard.
As you should. All right, so the 1260, I mean, was the last one landed Dowdy in his X Games part that I can think of?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm aware, I'm pretty sure just Dowdy and Corey Tunison are the only ones who have done it.
I guess maybe Corey was more recent then. Whatever, though.
I think Corey probably has done it more recently.
Yeah. I'm trying to think maybe it's Welcome to Hyperlite.
Corey like almost made one at the last Double or Nothing I was at.
Okay. The 1440.
Yeah.
Where's the 1440 at, Danny? Because the wake you did, you're 12 on.
It's in the cable park.
Still hasn't been done on the cable that I'm aware of.
I'm sure Trent will do it.
Well, Trent might have already done it, and he's just like, sitting on it. But behind the boat.
Yeah, I mean,
is there just no incentive for the
I mean, the
to try
triple
14?
flip went down. Maybe Thomas Herman's going to just bust out the 14.
Would that get him on Ronix if he busts out the 14 after the triple?
I mean, I'm a huge fan of Thomas. I mean, he's an amazing rider. I think, you know, unfortunately, there's only so many riders a company can support. And, you know, I don't make those calls. You know, I'm not the marketing guy. I'm not the team manager.
Yeah.
I mean, I give my input. I tell them who I think is, you know,
keeping an eye
worthy, who's marketable. I mean, I was super pumped. I told you, like, I'm a fan of Tyler. He's riding the one board now. He's like carrying the torch for the one board, and I was definitely a supporter of that. But like at the end of the day, I don't write the budgets for Ronix, and I don't decide who's on the team.
Yeah.
But I am a big fan of Thomas. I wish we did have, unfortunately, wakeboard sales don't support the, big teams that they used to.
Yeah, and I kind of want to pick your brain on that a little bit because you do work kind of behind the scenes in the industry now. So you have a good idea of what's going on in terms of sales and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I got a quick question. I want to know who you think is the GOAT of wakeboarding, male and female.
GOAT.
Yep.
I probably have to say that Parks was the most talented, like, overall.
Okay.
Really, I mean, yeah, I think Parks is probably the GOAT. He's also, like, I think if you really go back and watch, like, everything that Parks has done on a wakeboard, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, and being super well-rounded and, like, he was way ahead of his time always. So, I mean, overall, like, in the span of the sport, I think Parks is the true.
And he's still here.
GOAT.
He's still around.
He's still charging it.
Still cares about wakeboarding too.
Still being Parks and being creative and, like, looking out for the sport as a whole, which is cool.
Female, who we got?
Female GOAT. I mean, probably have to say Dallas.
Okay.
Like, just for what she did for the sport as far as women.
Yeah.
She was charging it and winning ESPYs and, like, she's the
face of the female side of the sport for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, she was killing it.
I mean, a lot of girls have done great things, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to deny Dallas as the GOAT.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's time we dive into the Slingshot Silhouette Challenge presented by Slingshot. So I got two here because people have been saying they're too easy. So I blacked out a rider, and you got to guess who the silhouette is here. So I got two. This first one, I thought you'd get this first one right away. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, you just stalling here.
I think that's Chad.
That is Chad Sharp.
Yeah,
the 2004 ROTY.
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah,
I think that's from
that's
that.
That's a Chad glide.
Okay, all right. So this one could be easier. I don't know. I had to put the sticker on there because the person's name was right there, but maybe it's a little harder.
You think it's easier?
I think it's harder.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a West Coast guy?
No. If you go really far west.
Oh no, I see a performance sticker.
There's a performance sticker on there. Interesting. Well, that would make sense. This guy lived in Florida for a while.
Man,
but he also lived in a different continent for a while.
Okay.
Kind of an endless summer type situation, I think. Smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, I mean, an Aussie guy.
Yep, an Aussie guy, obviously.
Ike.
Yeah, it's Ike.
Yeah.
That's a tough one to tell. That's a tough one to tell.
That's pretty steezy. Like,
it is.
Ike wasn't 100% like known for steez, so
you get the cover of Border Mag.
Yeah, give him credit for that one. That's a good tweak.
Okay, yeah.
Tweaked like Ike on a Saturday night. That's what he used to say.
It's a very fitting cover for him, I feel like. Oh man. All right, gotta get him on the pod one day. That'd be a good one.
Oh yeah, the Aussie guys, like those guys, Ike, Watkins, Josh.
They're different. They're a different breed.
They make them different down under.
They definitely do. And they breed wakeboarders over there, just like Canadians. I feel like Canada has a very strong.
Yeah.
Like Canada shouldn't have Rusty and
you wouldn't
Chad
think,
and Dylan.
You wouldn't think that many good wakeboarders come out of Canada. I mean, Australia makes sense. It's warm, But yeah, Canada, you got to want it. Or move to Florida early on.
Yeah, which they do. All right, so I think we got a couple more Patreon questions here before we wrap this up. But we got one from Daniel Jarrett, and he's wondering, you led the way behind the boat for many years. Do you have any tricks that you dreamt up but never landed?
I do. Yeah, that's a good question. There's definitely tricks that I never made that I wanted to do. I mean, I'm a huge fan right now of all the guys doing like the double flip, like directional changes, like the double KGB and stuff, where you're like, I mean, doing a double where you're just like staying in the same flip, you know, is obviously it's not easy, but like when you start adding 180s into there, like that's
Twisting the axis.
right. Yeah. That changes the game. So like Tyler and, you know, Thomas doing like double KGB, you know, actually Dowdy, I think Dowdy was the first to do double roll to blind, where that's like early handle pass, roll to blind into what's basically like switch toe side back roll. So like, that's where you like, you start and your head's going down, but then your head's going up. So there's like
weird,
as you 180, that changes, which I always wanted to do. Basically like a similar thing, but do like early tantrum to blind into switch, like scarecrow, basically.
Weird.
So yeah, you like, you can actually see it. Like if someone does like an early handle pass tantrum to blind and they miss the handle, they like start to rotate into like what's a front flip. So I always wanted to, I've actually tried to feel it out, but I've never really committed to it. But yeah, early handle pass tantrum to blind, and then as you come over the top, grab and basically do like a switch scarecrow. So someone's gonna do it.
Yeah, maybe
but
now.
It's similar to like what those guys were doing with like because it's like a double KGB is the back roll version of that.
Yeah.
So it would be a little scarier because you're coming out into like a switch front roll, probably a worse crash if you don't make it around.
Yeah,
but
less bailouts, I feel like, on that. So, all right. Yeah, check phone. No, you're good. You're good. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Got any people that want to buy a boat? Is that what you're kind of wondering?
Just a random
G23
sales
deposit coming in?
No.
All right, let's.
I would have taken that call.
Yeah, I would have hoped you would have taken that call. All right, let's talk the blind Pete, because you invented the blind Pete, and I talk to people now, and they still think that the blind Pete maybe is an underrated trick, especially in contest wise. I want to hear your process of learning and inventing and landing the blind Pete.
Yeah, so I was telling you earlier that I was doing toe side roll to blind. I was like the first one to really do that with a grab. Like people had done toe roll to blind before, but it was like laid out like a late kind of like landing in wrap type of trick.
Yeah.
Where I was like grabbing nuclear or nose and passing the handle earlier. So it was like almost more like a 90 roll kind of vibe to it. But yeah, the Pete version, the blind Pete, was just the evolution of adding another 180 to that. But it is awkward. The way that you come out of it is really hard to get your chest back over your toes.
It just looks like you get smoked so many times trying it.
Yeah, it's just, that's the hardest part, is because a toe side back roll, like everything's, you're throwing your head back to initiate it, but you at some point have to get your chest back over your toes, which is hard to do. To ride away from it, it's really, really easy to just slip out on your heel edge and not actually be able to ride away on your toe edge. So, it took me a while to figure out, but yeah, it's probably the hardest flip with 360 that you can do behind the boat.
Yeah, definitely.
Or wake to wake. Yeah, because like, I don't know. Maybe every trick's going to be harder for some people than others.
Sure.
But like, I think for most people, of all the flips that of all the variations of a flip with a 360, that is probably the hardest one.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's why it was kind of the last one to be done. If you're not talking like switch, Pete or switch blind Pete or like just the basic flips with a 360, that is probably the hardest one to learn.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Makes sense. All right, let's talk setup. So you brought a couple boards in. We talked a lot about the one, but I want to know how often you're riding, what the setup is, your stance, your rope length, boat speed, all that stuff.
Yeah, so I still get out there once in a while.
How often is once in a while? Once a week?
Right now, I haven't been out in a while because I just had a newborn. So I've got
Fair?
Yeah, I've got a
father of two, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I got a 4-year-old daughter and a 4-month-old little boy, Danny the 5th. I'm the 4th, actually.
I didn't know that.
Randall used to call me the 4th because he thought it was cool that I was
That's kind of sick.
the 4th.
Yeah.
So had to keep the tradition alive and got D5.
D5.
Got D5 here now. He's 4 months old. So, between working and selling boats full time and having a 4-month-old, it's tough to get out on the water. But I still love it, and I still like to ride. I mean, I don't go crazy, but I can still do, I can still bust out like a Pete Rose, heel 7.
Oh, heel 7. Okay.
I mean, some of those
2-handle passes.
Yeah, some of those tricks I still have on lock.
Yeah.
Might take me a few tries to get a 9 or, but I could still go do a lot of what was like the end of my contest riding. I can still do most of those tricks.
It's kind of sick.
I mean, the last time I rode for the Ronix catalog shoot, I did like a big like handle pass, toe side, backside 7 off the double up. And I've done doubles recently, like still can bust out like double tantrum, double toe back roll. Man, those might take me a few tries,
Sure.
but I can still
You put them down though.
still get down. But yeah, I'm probably a little rusty right now because it's been a while, but
Sure.
yeah, this is my current setup that I do ride when I ride. So yeah, Ronix One, 142. I'm like a standard stance, like 12 and 12. I'm not like directional one way or the other.
Yeah.
And I'm not even that particular about my stance. Like sometimes I'm just like, oh, it looks about right.
Yeah, that's the vibe.
Yeah.
Are you all the way out? You slam still?
I go back and forth. Depends on how my knees feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to ride more like I'm either one in or all the way out, but like I feel like sometimes if my hips are real tight, like one in just makes it a little bit tougher to like.
Oh, tougher. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why. I mean, I go back and forth.
Sure.
Yeah.
Either one in or all the way out though.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what rope length, boat speed, boat, obviously probably a G, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So I have a Paragon. I still get a boat from Nautique, which is awesome.
There you go.
So I have a Paragon right now, and I'll ride like probably 22.8 and 75 feet.
Okay. And are you still smashing double ups every now and again?
Yeah, actually nowadays with the boats the way they are, I usually, if I'm gonna hit double ups, I'll drain a little bit of the ballast weight because it's like if the boat's slammed to wake ride, like it's almost too much to where the double up's just gonna close out.
What do you mean close out?
Like the wake's already so big that when the double up happens, it just gets like to where it's gonna white water.
The water can't stand up
like,
that tall?
No, it's gonna like roll over. Like the double up's gonna break over, so you're just gonna hit white water.
That's no fun.
And you're not gonna have like a clean takeoff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean you can make it happen, but it's gonna more often than not you're gonna have it like wash out on you. So I'll drain a little bit of weight if I'm gonna hit double ups, but yeah, still charge it here and there.
And what boots you got?
Ronix One boot. This is a Carbitex, so it's the carbon boot. I mean, it's just stiffer on the outside of the boot, so I feel like it keeps you from going out the front, and a little more I guess lateral, right? That's the outside. Yeah. So lateral support.
You prefer that kind of?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I like a stiffer boot, so I feel like they like usually with my boots, like I would never ride brand new boots at a contest. Like at least need 2 or 3 rides in them for them to kind of break in a little bit. But yeah, I've always liked a little bit stiffer, but I like where it flexes towards the inside easier than towards the outside.
Yeah.
So I've always liked having like stiff on the outside and softer on the inside.
Makes sense. I mean, when you're landing on the ankles, that's where I'd lean towards at least. So, all right, let's before we get into what you're currently doing, we got a Patreon question from Parks. He's wondering what was Operation Blue Turkey.
Operation Blue Turkey. I don't know. Parks.
He could have just hit us with something random. I don't know. All right. Well,
I honestly,
we don't know OBT.
I mean, me and Parks had so many inside jokes like over the years that like that's. I mean, I remember a lot of them, Parks, but Blue Turkey isn't.
A lot of operations going on.
No, I mean, me and Parks have stories for days, but I really like. Now I'm gonna have to like call him and ask
He
him.
pulled this one out from deep, probably because you just sat down and talked with him, and you didn't talk about Blue Turkey. So
No, yeah,
you
I
wanted
don't-
to hear something. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
I honestly don't remember what that
maybe we'll
was.
follow up with Parks on that one. All right. So we got last Patreon question before we get into what you're currently doing and what you're up to now from Josh Boyle. And he's wondering, was there ever a time when you guys were all riding back in the heyday and was there a consensus among the pros that one particular boat's wake was the best?
I mean, honest answer is they've kind of all had their time.
Yeah.
I mean, like I would say when I first signed on with Nautique, that was like, I mean, there was a reason that the Pointless crew was at my house every day. That was like the, 01, 02 Super Air was like the best boat for sure. And then, I mean, there was a time I would say that like, Mastercraft and Malibu probably had the preferred wake, but that was also like, I think when like we were hitting a lot more double ups, so like a more mellow wake, not as much lip as like the Nautiques had at the time, might have worked better for double ups.
Yeah.
Bigger double ups at that time. And then I think it's kind of unspoken, nowadays that like the G is the preferred, boat wake. But yeah, I mean, I think, it's fair to say that they all had their place in a timeline of wakeboarding, you know. And, a lot of the times like these, like the pros might have, some supercharged motor that you can put way more weight in, and they might not be riding exactly like
The factory, custom.
right. I mean, it's like the PGA Tour, those guys aren't playing with the same clubs you can buy off the shelf. I mean, like a lot of the times, a wakeboard that I ride might have some, core that we're testing that's super expensive but super light or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
I would imagine guys in the super pipe snowboarding probably have to, they're not riding the board that you're going to go pick up off the wall.
Right. Which, yeah, I mean, for most people, doesn't matter. Like,
It doesn't matter at all, yeah.
Yeah, you can, like, I currently do just, ride a board off the shelf. But, like, when I was testing a lot more, like, I would always have something
going on.
new layup or, like, different fiberglass layup or different core that we were testing. And, you're kind of, like, trying different things. And, I mean, the boat companies would do that, too, I would say, is, like, they use the athletes for R&D and stuff like that. But to answer your question is, I'm a Nautique guy through and through. I mean, at one point I did have the opportunity to ride for other boat companies.
Okay, I have to ask. See, I mean, you got offers from different, like, what's that look like? Because
I mean, at times, yeah, I could have, had opportunities to maybe ride for other boat companies, but I grew up in Orlando and I was always a fan of Nautique. And, I think they've, kind of defined now like what the modern day wakeboard boat looks like. And I think, a lot of the other companies have followed suit, but I think, they've all had their time in the sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think now they all make badass boats now. And I think it sounds like, growing up in Orlando, like Nautique is very much so here.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's cool. It's cool to be like,
it's the local company, and there's a lot of brand loyal people here in Orlando. And I grew up in Orlando, so I was always a Nautique guy.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's, speaking of Nautique, what are you up to now? And I'm curious on the transition from, going from rider, athlete to where you're at now.
Yeah. So in 2019, I started working at the local Nautique dealership here. It's Regal and Nautique of Orlando. We sell Nautique, obviously. We sell Regal boats, which are also made here in Orlando. And then we sell Centurion and Supreme, which are the other Correct Craft brands of wake boats. And we also sell Bennington pontoon boats. So I sell
Slinging some bennies out here, huh?
Yeah. I mean, Benningtons, they're sweet. I want one. I mean,
You don't have a pontoon?
I don't have a pontoon currently,
get on it, dude.
but like I think that's the ultimate setup. If you live on a lake, is to have like a wake boat and a pontoon boat. It's pretty all time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll get there one day. But yeah, I'm selling boats. I originally started there working for Jeff Huseby as the owner, and I've known Jeff since I was a little kid. Jeff's been selling nautiques in Orlando for, I think 35 years now. And so, yeah, I've, always known Jeff, and especially being a nautique athlete, had done, events and worked with Jeff, on other things as a nautique team athlete. But I kind of always told myself, like, I didn't want to be in the sport, like, past the time where, like, I don't want to feel like I'm milking the sport for every last drop. So, like, I love being at the dealership because, I still get to sell nautiques and be a part of the industry. And, I love, like, delivering a boat to a family that's new to the sport and, like, seeing that excitement and that passion, and also helping them along the way, like giving them some of my knowledge and experience as to, like, how to enjoy your time on the water.
Pretty sick to buy a boat from Danny Harf.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. Obviously, I have some things to offer that other, just my experience in wake boats is, I've spent a lot of time on a lot of different wake boats. So I do, I definitely enjoy, like, meeting new families and helping new families get into the sport. But yeah, I guess in 2019, I was like, basically ready to stop beating myself up and competing full time. And, like, there was also, like, another generation of riders coming up that, I mean, let's be honest, wakeboarding is kind of a young man's sport. You can ride forever, but, like, the impact, the impact and the crashes and just the repetitiveness of doing it every day, like, that beats you up over time. So I didn't want to be like, I'm 40 years old now. I didn't want to be, like, still trying to milk the sport. So in 2019, I had been doing some stuff for Jeff, just like events and marketing stuff, trying to, kind of get my foot in the door. And then I officially started at the dealership in 2019, and I was, helping with, like, demos and deliveries, but also more marketing and event stuff. And then we started doing the Thigh High Surf and Wake Series, which is now the Wake United Surf and Wake Series. Yeah, it kind of, my timing was good because then COVID happened and everyone wanted a boat, and they're like, all right, you're in sales now, which, I really enjoy it. It's a challenge. It's almost kind of like, a new challenge where, like, I got bored of trying to learn new wakeboard tricks. And now it's like almost like that same reward or high you get, adrenaline rush from, like, landing a new trick on a wakeboard is, like, that next sale, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's rewarding. I mean, you meet a lot of cool people selling boats, a lot of interesting people, and people are typically in a good mood when they're buying a boat. It's probably better than being, like, in the boat repo business. But yeah, I mean
that would be exciting as well. Just
it probably
a different
would be.
kind.
But yeah, I mean, I do enjoy it, and it is nice to sell, like, brands that you believe in the product, where the product kind of sells itself. So that's what I do currently. I've got a wife, a 4-year-old daughter, and a 4-month-old boy. So just being a family man, and I actually started, like, getting my daughter out there wake surfing with me.
There we go.
She's been golfing, getting into golf a little bit. I'm a golfer, so I used to joke and say I was teaching her the LPGA ABCs because I'd be pumped if she wanted to get into golf.
Yeah.
But I'm a firm believer to let her choose her path. I'm not going to, like,
just expose them to everything.
Push her into one thing or the other. But yeah, I mean, just enjoying being a dad and not having to, travel constantly. I think that's one reason that I didn't have kids earlier in life, is it just the travel was kind of relentless and nonstop, and it'd be really hard to be away from your family that much. So yeah, it's nice to be home and be on a regular schedule.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so before we wrap this up, I'm curious on you've been on the athlete side of things. You're a rider for a long time. You're a part owner of Ronix, and now you're selling boats, working at a dealership. I'm curious on what your thoughts on, like, where do you think this current state of wakeboarding stands?
So obviously a lot of people now are buying boats to wake surf,
Sure,
which I'm 100% supportive of. I mean, I think wake surfing does make the, water sports so much more accessible to so many more people, where it's not a high impact, dangerous sport. Anyone can have a lot of fun surfing behind the boat, and you're not going to like take a crash to where you're like, severely injured.
Yeah.
I mean, it can happen if you hit the board or something, but like, there's
very low percentage.
Not a lot of consequence in wake surfing, but it's great. Anyone can do it. It's easy to get up and have fun. And I do think that there's going to be kids that might be growing up with a wake surf boat now, and they're into wake surfing, but at some point they're going to be like, hey, I want some more adrenaline. This G23 that I have, turns out it's really good for wakeboarding too. And I already do see that, where like,
okay, I'm very curious.
Yeah, you might have like someone who gets into wake surfing, but then they're like, oh, well, wakeboarding is really fun too.
Yeah.
And
it's cool. Like,
and and I think that's the thing, is like, I do enjoy wake surfing. But like, wakeboarding will always be more adrenaline, more exciting,
airtime, like.
But then again, when I'm 75, I'm probably not going to go get upside down on a wakeboard.
Well, that's time for the foil then, Danny.
Right. Then you can foil and you can surf and you can do all those things. It's definitely more like user friendly.
Yeah. And then you watch the young ones do the wakeboarding.
Yeah. So. And now there's so many boats out there that are amazing tools for wakeboarding that might not be being used for wakeboarding, but maybe as the kids get older, they'll get into it. So I do think that, like, wakeboarding had a lot of ups and downs, just like any board sport does. I mean, we've seen snowboarding, skateboarding, surfing all go through these highs and lows of, the ebb and flow of a board sport. But I do think wakeboarding is, it kind of hit a point where it was like, oh, wakeboarding's going away, it's all wake surfing. But I think it's also coming back. I mean, you kind of seen that with water skiing too. Now you're seeing like a lot more people, similar to snow skiing, when snow skis got better and, they kind of changed the design of snow skis. And like, now you also see that with water skiing, like people are, maybe not 3 event skiing, but they're, buying like a wider ski and getting into skiing again. And like, I think wake surfing will ultimately help wakeboarding to be bigger than it ever was.
That's my hot take. I've been sitting on that hot take for a while, because like I was at my parents' place this past weekend in northern Michigan, and over the past, since wake surfing's gotten big, it's been predominantly wake surfing. You see a wakeboarder here and there, and this is in northern Michigan, so it's not year round. But this past year, I was just like talking to my family who lives on that lake, and they're like, past couple of years, like, seen a couple more wakeboarders. Obviously, this is one lake. This is a very small thing we're looking at,
right,
but like the idea kind of holds water, right? Where it's like, wake surfing is, we're all just looking for a way to get people on the water. Yeah. And so whether that's like in a life jacket on the water, because that's the hardest thing to do, right? Is to like actually to get them to do it, whether it's kneeboarding or skiing or whatever. And wake surfing is kind of the least common denominator, easiest way to do it. So then they'll kind of see the wakeboarding thing. As long as we make wakeboarding look cool and wakeboarding look fun, they'll be like, oh, let's jump up, let's go wakeboarding, let's go 65 feet, 70 feet. And
I mean, I would have to think that, we haven't seen the best days of wakeboarding. I'm sure there's, bigger days ahead. And I think that's part of it is, there's always going to be people who want the adrenaline. And once you get bored of wake surfing, then you can wakeboard. Yeah. And then you can also foil and you can barefoot and do a lot of, you can do it all.
You can do a lot.
Yeah.
That's kind of the cool part, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that was great. I mean, is there anything you want to touch on before we wrap this up, or anybody you want to thank before we call it quits here?
I mean, I guess, definitely shout out to my family. Me and my wife we were high school sweethearts. So, she's basically seen, been
She's
there.
seen it all.
She's been there the whole time. And my parents too, and my sister, who kind of initially got me into it. But like my parents were so cool. Like I was, 15 years old and they'd be like, "Oh, you're going to Japan? Okay, have fun." So they like just let me experience it. And I mean, ultimately to me, like the coolest part about my career was I got to travel the world. I got to see the world, at a young age, traveling with my friends, and, most people work their whole life to then retire and travel. And I got to like travel and enjoy life and see the world and be with my best friends, experiencing all these things. So just, very grateful for all the people that supported me in my career. I mean, I don't want to like list off sponsors. I mean, they know who they were. And, a lot of those companies don't even really support wakeboarding anymore. But, the people that were behind the scenes that made it happen. I mean, I don't want to start naming people because then
it's a bad slippery slope to go down.
Yeah, because then I'm going to miss someone and then I'm going to be like, oh, I named him, but I didn't name him. But like
families, if you just stick with family and then you cut it off.
Yeah, I mean, my mom, my dad, my sister, my wife, and then just, all the people that were always close and, helped me along the way. Like you guys know who you are. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, I'm grateful to the sport that provided the life that it did. And I'm happy to have been able to be a part of it and, stamp my name in the history books. And, I'm proud of what I did. I don't feel like, there might've been a trick that I wish I would have landed that I never landed, but like overall probably wouldn't change a thing. And, I didn't get rich and retire off of wakeboarding. I mean, but
maybe could have,
but I do it all over again. I mean, it was a wild ride, and it was definitely something I can hang my hat on. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you a ton for coming on. It means a lot. I've said it before, but this podcast is nothing without the people that come on it. So it's awesome to have you come in here and tell your story, and I appreciate everybody tuning in. If you guys are interested in supporting the podcast, join the Patreon or rate it 5 stars or like, comment, whatever you guys want to do. But all that does mean a lot, especially sharing it with people you think will enjoy it. So thanks a ton for coming on, and we will see you guys next time.